Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I hope to provide entertaining conversations with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to get their stories, tips, strategies, productivity tricks, and ideas that you can apply and take your career or business to the next level. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. Hello again, everyone. This episode is with Colin Moynihan, president with Uncle Dan's Outfitters. Colin tells us about the recent change in ownership at Uncle Dan's, thoughts on the state of outdoor retail today, and his experience at the Skip Yowell Future Leaders Academy. Enjoy. Welcome to episode 48 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, folks. Today we're speaking with Colin Moynihan, president and team captain with Uncle Dan's Outfitters. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat about the industry a little bit here.
Yeah, great to have you on. So let's start with your background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and maybe your first exposure to the outdoors? How'd you get into the whole outdoor recreation world?
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in New Hampshire, just south of the White Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate to have the outdoors all around me. And early memories are of small, amazing hikes that are accessible over some of the lakes there. So there's one, a mountain called Rattlesnake Mountain that is a pretty good hike for little kids. And you get to the top and you feel like you're at the top of a mountain that's about 4 times the size, and
Nice.
the views over the lakes there are just amazing. And it's always been burned in my mind as one of my first outdoor memories. And then The other, I think, that burns in my mind is just a little snapshot. The local mountain we used to ski at was called Gunstock, about 15 minutes from home. And I just remember the first time I was probably about 5 and sitting on like the back of a hayride type vehicle with my skis getting pulled up to the mountain. I don't remember actually skiing, but I remember the atmosphere and the feeling. And
cool.
That's another that's always sort of stuck with me and one that I always long for.
Awesome. Yeah. And did you follow a educational path in the outdoor biz, recreation or anything, or what's your background there?
I didn't. I always knew. I always had a feeling that I wanted to be in the outdoor industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then early on, which I think we'll talk about in a bit here, I worked for a water ski shop, water skis and wakeboards and water sports. And I was drawn to kind of the business side of it and thinking, one day I'd like to run an outdoor business.
Nice.
Of course, it seemed like a pipe dream at the time. So I went to college, though, and focused on finance and marketing. And in the back of my head, I think always hoped to end up in actually a situation like I'm in now. So it still kind of feels like a dream to me every day.
Awesome. So it worked out for you. That's great. So was that your first outdoor job at the wakeboard shop?
Let's see. So my first outdoor job was as a lifeguard in high school. I guess if you call that an outdoor job.
Yeah.
Nice sitting on a beach there every day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then after that, I did begin working at this outdoor store in Meredith, New Hampshire called Sports and Marine Paraphernalia.
Okay.
And at the time, I was also very into wakeboarding. And so a few buddies, we'd go out every morning wakeboarding. Then I'd go to work and kind of live that life.
Living the dream.
Through college.
Yeah, awesome.
And I loved it, yeah.
Yeah, great, awesome. And you were telling me you were a participant in the Skip Yowell Future Leaders Academy. Was that just recently?
That was this year, yeah.
Oh, cool.
It started at OR in January.
Yeah, and what was that like?
Oh, it was fantastic. I think it was one of the best experiences I've had in my career so far, hands down.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do right now, I think is really important. Whether it's talking about the business side of the outdoor industry, which is going through a lot of changes right now. And also they did a great job to really focus on the other big issues that, politically and otherwise that are surrounding our industry right now.
That's awesome.
So working with, 30 young and motivated and brilliant people to brainstorm about all this stuff and just to form friendships was really incredible. I would, anyone that's young in the industry, and looking to kind of grow and expand their network, I would definitely suggest taking a look at that.
I totally agree.
That program.
We've talked about that with a few other folks on the podcast, and we'll link to it in the show notes on this one as well. Yeah, Skip was a great guy. I was fortunate to know him for many years and work with him at Jansport a bit, and that's a great program that we're doing there. That's awesome. And so you recently had a transition. You guys got purchased by Camping World. Was it Camping World that purchased you, or was it another group that also owns Camping World?
It was Camping World.
Okay, got
it. So we're now a subsidiary of Camping World. Mm-hmm. They bought the Uncle Dan's Corporation. Mm-hmm. So we'll continue to operate with our same team intact as Uncle Dan's Outfitters.
Cool.
And we'll be part of a team there that's going to be in a number of different parts of the outdoor industry.
Yeah, that's great. And Marcus Lemonis, everybody knows him from The Prophet on CNBC, I think. If you don't, you should check it out. He seems like a great guy and a mover and shaker. That's got to be exciting. Have you got to work with him yet?
Yeah, I've been working with Marcus since, we first started discussing the potential acquisition. Uh-huh. And it has been incredible. The pace is very fast. Lots of ideas, but ultimately he has, empowered our team here, the ones that have experience in the specialty industry, right, to keep kind of doing what we're doing. And that's just super exciting for everyone on our team.
That's great. Yeah, you guys have done a really good job battling some of the retail challenges today. Before we get into too much of that, what's your perspective on the state of outdoor retail today? There's a lot of, seems like it's a full combat sport these days.
Oh, that's for sure. I'm optimistic still that through all these changes, a strong and vibrant industry is going to remain. Mm-hmm. But I'm biased coming from a specialty retail background. But I still believe so much in brick and mortar as a cornerstone to a strong industry, especially something like the outdoor industry, where, that culture to me from a specialty store, if you think about it when you're a kid,
right,
that to me is just a core part of the industry. So I get nervous right now thinking that, a lot of brands have a lot of people to answer to, and they have the bottom line to answer to. And right, I just worry that decisions that are being made right now in the interest of kind of short-term profits, I just worry about what that means for the face of the industry in the future.
Yeah,
whether it's sort of the decisions on where to put your marketing dollars. Is it all going to go toward direct to consumer? Mm-hmm. Do you believe that specialty is a necessary component of that future? Because I think that most people do in the industry and with the brands. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's said out loud. I think a lot of the actions that are happening behind the scenes, whether it's direct to consumer or Amazon decisions, right, are a little bit contrary to taking a long-term perspective of what the industry is going to look like if you let only 4 people sell on Amazon, for example, or if you go direct to Amazon. The pie is not getting that much bigger. Right. You're just kind of reallocating where those dollars go. And unfortunately, right now, I think a lot of specialty and smaller specialty players are suffering based on a lot of these decisions.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that it is very short-sighted. I think a lot of the decisions are made on that quarterly, we got to hit that quarterly number. We got to hit that quarterly comp, whatever that might be. And it creates challenges. And you're right. This industry grew up on great specialty retailers. And I think, those of you guys that are still, operating a great store with great service and great assortments, and you're embracing some new technology and some things you're choosing to leave alone. I think that's smart, and it shows. You guys are having success, and there's a handful of other folks across the country that are doing the same. So that's great.
And I certainly think that it's on the specialty retailer to evolve with the market. If you're not evolving, you can't expect to kind of get a handout from your brands. Yeah. But if you are evolving, that's one of the arguments that I want to keep pushing for us and for other specialty players is if someone's trying to evolve and if they have a competency in places like the Amazon channel, right, start trying. And I know there's the discussion about which is more important right now, and protecting price certainly is on Amazon. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to sort of see some really competent specialty players get left behind a little bit as big brands make decisions to allow, X, Y, and Z companies to sell on Amazon while there's 10 other really strong guys that that have been strong partners for a long time that get left in the dust. And again, the pie just allocates differently.
Yeah.
But ultimately. So
well, I
so
think
I'm
you're
a
right.
little worried.
I think you're right, and I think it'll be fine. I think if you got, especially whatever business you're in, whether you're a brand or a retailer or an athlete, I mean, if you take care of yourself and take care of your business and do all the things you can to make yourself better, I think it'll be great. I think I'm a photographer and I watch and read a lot of photography instructional things, and I think it's Chase Jarvis who talks about, stay off the compare-a-slagger, right? Don't, you want to look at what other people are doing, but if you compare yourself to them too much, you'll get just overwhelmed. Do what you can do best, and you'll be fine, So I like that. Stay off the compare-a-slagger. Don't drink too much of that stuff.
It's easy to do.
It is. It's hard to stay off it, yeah. So tell the audience about some of the successes you guys are having at Uncle Dan's.
Sure. I guess around 2012, we began to look at the web as this really necessary component to a successful future retail business. And so we started with our own website, and over the last 5 years, we've grown our own website, udans.com, into a significant part of our business. And then secondary to that online, we realized a few years ago that the Amazon piece of the business was, to me, a very critical part of kind of diversifying your sales channels in the future industry as well.
Right.
So we've also put a lot of time and effort into becoming competent at the Amazon game, whether it's fulfilled by merchant, Prime, fulfilled by merchant, FBA. We know we need to be good at that game, and I think, like anyone who's going to evolve, any specialty player, I think you need to. So I would consider those successes, to where we've, I think, diversified in a way that helps us for the long term.
That's awesome.
While the brick and mortar is still and will continue to be the core of what we do, we think that focus on customer experience can translate over to the web as well, but more so just that it's a necessary piece of the bigger puzzle for us.
Right. And I bet there were some challenges along the way. What were those like?
There certainly
That's
are.
quite a learning curve dealing with Amazon.
Yeah, for making sure that you're not just wasting money overspending on ads, whether it's Google ads or Amazon sponsored ads. Especially as a retailer, if it's not your own product, the margins are slimmer. So we just feel that we have to be smart about it. We do a very thorough job analyzing the most important expenses, like freight costs. And we're pretty picky about what products we sell to what parts of the country, to make sure that it's still a profitable thing for us. Really, the biggest challenge, and also something that's an opportunity for the right people that are good at it, is working within the new brand rules and rules that are changing every day. So we're fortunate. We have a few partners where we're within, we're one of a few allowed Amazon retailers, and we're honored to be a part of that. But at the same time, some of our biggest, most long-term brands have made the same decisions to allow 5 people or so, 5 retailers to sell their products. And that really hurts us. And so that's just it's a discussion point I just want to push. I'm not saying one's right or wrong, because certainly, like I said, we're on the good side of some of those deals, and we're on the bad side. But those deals as a whole scare me. And I think it's something from kind of like a monopoly perspective that should be addressed. And I hope it takes to the forefront kind of those issues.
Yeah, and those issues seem, this is all still relatively new in the big picture, right? These things it's a moving target. It keeps changing from what I hear and see. You know more. You're about that. It seems like the conversation changes annually, and the requirements to get in the game change annually, if not more frequently. So it's still a moving target.
It is, and what scares me, and we're in a bit different spot now that we've been acquired by Camping World. But for specialty independent guys as a whole, it just scares me that the pace of change is not for those guys. They're going to get left behind.
It's not slowing down.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
And I just want brands to talk about it a little bit more and try to picture that world that's could exist if things keep going that way.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not slowing down. It's speeding up. Yeah. And you guys, have you shifted any of your assortment, the products you carry at all in this change? Or
No, we really haven't. One of the strengths that we think exists with our business is kind of that curated product selection that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the suburbs of Chicago and the city of Chicago, so we actually have a slightly different customer base than you would if you're an outdoor retailer in Chicago and Colorado.
Right.
So we've tried to tailor our assortment, and we try to do that for every store.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's still the traditional, footwear, outerwear, backpacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that, in a way, I think everyone's forced to think about a little bit is, as brands make decisions to push direct to consumer, how does your assortment shift in the future, and do you consider creating your own brands and getting into that side of the business? Because ultimately, that's where the profits are going to be, and that's where you can kind of rely on yourself, at least, if you're able to do that successfully, or at least to diversify.
And are you guys doing any private label stuff these days?
We're not at the moment. It's something we're looking into a lot right now, and interested in, and that's a little bit where being part of the Camping World's group of outdoor businesses, I think, will be great. If nothing else, just from a brainstorming perspective.
Right. Yeah.
Creating our vision.
And what kind of things are you doing on the event side? It seems like there's a lot of energy around events these days to get consumers, a different kind of experience.
Sure. We have a lot of local neighborhood events that we try to team up. It's really important for us to do things on a store-by-store basis, and connect and have our managers connect with the communities that we're in. So whether it's like German Fest in Lincoln Square, or presenting the Nutcracker Ballet in our store in Highland Park, to a number of other local events that happen throughout the year, we always are a part of it. We always try to be a fun part of it, and connect with the community, and offer good deals, but also offer a fun place to come and hang out with our fun staff.
That's great. And what kind of work do you do on the nonprofit side?
Let's see. On the nonprofit side within the industry, I was fortunate through this outdoor industry leadership program to work with a great group called Big City Mountaineers.
Oh yeah, they're fabulous. Yeah.
And they are.
They do
awesome.
A lot of stuff in your backyard.
They do.
North of you guys, yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota is one of their areas.
Yeah.
Along with some areas out west and down south, and they're just their goal to me to get underserved youth outside, to kind of have that feeling that I think of from going to Gunstock when I was a kid, that never leaves you and can change everything. It's a great thing that they're trying to do. So That's recent. And then outside the industry, a best friend of mine from high school was in the Air Force, and after they served in Afghanistan, he and 4 of his Air Force mates started a nonprofit called Flying Scarves, where they import handmade Afghan scarves that are made by women in the villages in Afghanistan to the country here. And we sell them online and through a local store in North Carolina and through events.
That's really cool.
And so when they started it, they just needed someone to help with the finances. This was in 2012. So since then, I've been a part of kind of their leadership group. Everyone in the group volunteers.
Cool.
And I just oversee the finances and just help from the background. But it's been an honor to be involved with these amazing guys.
Yeah, very fun.
And to learn from them. Yeah.
And is it flyingscarves.com?
Yep, it's spelled FLYING. SCARFS.
Scarves. Okay, cool. We'll put a link to that in the show notes too. Yeah, and the show notes will be on the outdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/048. So you can check that out. We'll link to that too. That's awesome. That's a great group. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it has been.
Very cool. And what outdoor activities do you participate in?
Oh, so let's see. So skiing's my main passion, but as you can imagine, living in Chicago, not something that I can do all the time. Though there is a mountain called Wilmot just north of me that Vail bought. it's more like a hill, but I can take my kids there to learn how to ski. So
very cool.
That's an outlet if I can't get out west or back east. Otherwise, I'm big into water sports. We ran paddleboard and kayak rental programs on Lake Michigan this year. And so I try to get out kayaking or paddling on the lake as much as I can.
That's great. Yeah.
Additionally, there's some lagoons, Skokie Lagoons right near my house where I can get on the kayak as well. So there's a good amount of outdoor opportunities right near me.
Yeah, you guys have a bunch of stuff you can do, yeah. And do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get in the outdoor biz or maybe grow their career in the outdoor biz?
Yeah, I think number one is really cliche, but the idea of following your heart and making sure that you end up doing every day something that you love to do is really important to me, because I see a lot of people that I love that haven't necessarily found that. And
yeah,
I feel fortunate, but I also always push myself and challenge myself to go for that over, maybe security sometimes. But I would just say work hard, don't expect things to fall into your lap. But if you're persistent and passionate and work hard and you're open to changes, I think the great things will follow. I really do.
I support that.
We have a lot of people on our team who I think are like that, and I think they have big futures ahead of them if they keep grinding and working hard and loving what they do.
Yep, it's kind of how the outdoor business grew up. We all followed our
beautiful
hearts.
Thing.
It's awesome. Yep. Yeah. And do you have any daily routines you have to keep your sanity or health, like meditation or exercise or walking the dog, playing with the kids? I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a big one. Things are hectic right now, especially with this acquisition. But before work every day, I'll stop in these lagoons across from my house, and I'll always take a walk to kind of set my head for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. So that gets me going. Try to get to the gym at lunch when I can, but admittedly have been bad about that lately. And then if I want to get brought down to earth really quickly, that happens the second I walk in my door at home, and I've got my 3 little kids there ready to go. So they're always a great way to kind of unwind and come back to reality.
That's great. What are their ages?
6, 4, and 2.
Oh, so you got your hands full. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. And what about some of your favorite books? Or do you give books as gifts very often?
I don't. Mm-hmm. There's a couple books that they're older books, but they like foundationally affected me. And so I think of these when I talk to friends or family, just about kind of the way I try to think about business and life. But one of them is Tim Ferriss, who we talked about before we started recording here. His book, 4-Hour Workweek, that I read in my 20s, I guess, early 20s. It's not that I want to only work 4 hours a week, but it's a reminder really to me every day to think about how can I do things most efficiently.
Yeah.
And just be smart about how you spend your time, because it's a finite resource and there's never enough of it. And so that book is just always one I've thought of.
That's a great book.
I figured out.
Yeah, and that's more of a catchy title. I think when you dig into it, you realize that a lot of those folks that run these things don't work. They work more than 4 hours. But Tim has hacked life, right? He's got some incredible productivity things, and it's amazing. It's a great book.
Then the other one, I guess I read even earlier, probably in college, was called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't about like getting rich, but it was this idea he has to think of yourself as a business.
Right.
And I've always found that to be like a core thing I try to do, whether it's just, and suggest to friends who maybe don't, like, know your own numbers and know your personal balance sheet, your personal budget, what you can withstand. And it helps me to kind of create a framework to think forward.
Right.
So that's always been a big one for me.
That's another good one. Yeah. Awesome. We'll link to those in the show notes too. How about apps? Do you have any apps you use on a regular basis? Daily productivity or scheduling? Or...
Not really. If you saw my office, there's a lot of sticky notes, and I use the Notes app on my phone. But
cool. Yeah, that's good.
But not really consistently. An app I use for inspiration and just to breathe a little is Instagram now, just because I've got all the companies I love and inspirational people I love, and you just flip through and it can kind of just bring you back to a good spot pretty quickly.
There you go. Cool.
So I'm kind of new to Instagram, but I feel old saying that, but it's one I go to now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm on there all the time. Well, I'll make sure and follow you on Instagram. And how about a favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100 with access to all the great things at Uncle Dan's? That might be hard.
It is hard, and so my answer isn't that great. It's nothing like cool and new, but it's something that I've been living by as I've been traveling more. And I got this. It's called Anchor. It's actually just a charger. So Goal Zero, and everyone's had these for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing I found, if I leave it plugged in during the day to my computer, I could go like a whole week without having access to plugs.
Wow, really?
And I can charge. I may have exaggerated. I don't know what the exact time is, but I can go a whole trip, and I never have to plug in anywhere, and I've always got my phone.
Awesome.
Which is a big tool in work life now. You kind of do everything from your phone.
Yeah.
With me, so it gives me, even though you should be unplugged sometimes, the reality is that. For work purposes, you got to be plugged in.
You got to be plugged in,
even when ideally you're not. So that's a good tool.
And it's from Goal Zero, Anchor?
No, it's actually, the company's called Anchor.
Okay.
Anker. Okay,
got you. We'll put that in the show notes too. That's awesome. I got to check that out. We could all use more power, right? You're right. As much as we say we should be unplugged, never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anything else you want to say to our audience or ask of our audience before we go to wrap up here?
Oh, I don't really think so. I guess it would just be, I hope anyone that listens to this must have a big interest in the industry. So I just think we all need to keep asking questions and keep challenging brands and retailers to think about the ecosystem as a whole and try to think a little longer term.
Yep.
Because I'd hate to lose a lot of these amazing specialty guys, whether it's specialty retailers or specialty smaller brands.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think that would be sad. So yeah, just keep thinking and asking questions.
Yep, keep it up, folks. And how can people get in contact with you? Email or Twitter or obviously Instagram? That's a good spot.
Emails. I'm always available on email.
Okay.
And so that would be first name Colin last name Moynihan.
Okay.
At gmail.com or at uncledans.net if it's work related.
Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. And your Instagram handle is?
I'm looking it up right now because I'm thinking. I think it's just my first name, last name, Colin Moynihan.
Cool. All right. I'm sure we can find you by that. Yeah.
It's Colin.Moynihan. Yeah.
Moynihan. Awesome. We'll link to that in the show notes too. Well, that's great. Awesome. Well, thanks, Colin. That's been great chatting with you. Congrats on
thank you.
The new purchase there. That's very exciting. I'm sure you guys will do great.
It.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing
me on.
I look forward to seeing you at Outdoor Retailer in Denver.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. Cool. Have a good day.
Take care.
All right. Bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Colin Moynihan. You can find him at colin.moynihan on Instagram and colin.moynihan at uncledans.net. That's COLINMOYNIHAN. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/048. I'd be stoked if you shared your favorite episodes on the socials, and until next time, thank you so much for listening. This episode's featured advocacy group is the California Wilderness Coalition. Cal Wild is a nonprofit whose mission is to protect and restore the wildest landscapes and watersheds on California's public lands. Since 1976, Cal Wild has helped protect over 14 million acres of wilderness and 1,500 miles of wild and scenic rivers. The organization helps bridge the gap between local stewards who know their public lands intimately and the state and federal agencies that manage those lands, forming valuable partnerships at all levels. When you become a member today at the $65 family level, they'll send you a copy of Tim Palmer's book, California Glaciers, for free. Join today at calwild.org/biz. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, or go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Outdoor Biz Podcast, Twitter at Rick_Saez, that's SAEZ, and my email is rick@theoutdoorbizpodcast.com. Thanks for listening and all the support, and a huge shout out to all my guests, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.